Hi everyone, this is Erin with Ariengabriella. I hope you all are doing really great. So today I wanted to talk to you about dealing with negativity, especially around how to clear negativity or even like people who bring negativity out of your life. And if you can't, immediately clear those people out or those energies out, at least learn how to develop a certain amount of just protection around yourself to ensure that, everything stays positive and happy in your world. Now, it's important to note a couple of things before I get started here. First of all, negativity is kind of a relative concept. Like everyone's perception of a negative, idea or a negative person or a negative space is really up for debate. But at the end of the day, like I define negativity as anything that causes you to lose your connection or to deviate from the frequency of divine love. So if there's anything out there that's knocking you off of your ability to feel, peaceful, to feel, compassion for others, compassion for yourself, that would be a sign that you're dealing with something that isn't operating from your highest good. And we want to do our best to either to clear that away or to turn it into something more positive. So the way that I've learned to clear this type of negativity out of my life is through emotional alchemy, which is really just alchemy. I like to use the term emotional alchemy because for me, it helps describe the way that I understand the difference between positive and negative and the way that I guide myself towards something more positive, which is really that, of course, your emotions are what guides you. If you're feeling sad, depressed, angry, those emotions are not bad. It's just a sign that you're not necessarily operating at the frequency that would serve your highest good. So we always want to try to be, in a state of divine love, because that is where we are our most powerful and where we can do the greatest amount of manifesting in our lives and the forgiveness in our lives. Really what this video is just about setting the basics. There's a lot to this alchemy stuff. There's a whole lot. So it's going to take me forever to get through it all, and that's totally fine. I'm happy to talk all day, but really like the first and most important practical tip that I'm going to get to in this video is going to be about how to claim your full power as an alchemist. And in order to do that, you have to know your worth, you have to be very protective of your energy, and you have to love yourself enough to assert firm boundaries. You have to be in your full power to be a full manifester. So, there's several reasons why someone may not be kind of manifesting the life and the reality that they want. And, I'll probably get to that in a separate video, but I think one of the most important things that is really important for people to remember is that you have to, again, be in a powerful space. So if you are kind of just feeling kind of down yourself, feeling like you can't do it, you're never going to manifest anything that you want from that kind of space. Like you really have to be in a love-based state, or at least some kind of like positive based state to be able to manifest in a way that is actually going to make you happy. Otherwise, if you try to do it any other way, I just can't vouch for whether or not if you're going to get exactly what you want, and like whether or not what you want is actually going to be for your highest good and the highest good of like all concerned. Because at the end of the day, like we want our blessings, but we don't want to hurt anyone at the same time, My name is Ariengabriella. I am the owner of ariengabriella.com, a new company launching this year in just a few months. And I am here to help you on your spiritual journey and to help grow you into the best soul that you can possibly be. Okay, so I want to start with my definition of alchemy. So what is alchemy? Alchemy is the art of transmutation. And transmutation is really the science of changing something from one type to another similar but better type. Like a really good example is energy. You have like positive and negative energy. It's all energy, but there's different extremes to that. So when you practice alchemy or transmutation, basically what you're doing is you're taking something that's kind of similar in some basic way, like something that's an emotion, and you change it from one extreme to the other extreme. And for me, I always focus on moving things into a more loving type of vibration. So when it comes to emotions, I'm focused mostly on taking something that may be not serving my highest good in one way or the other. Usually that means that they're an emotion that many of us would consider negative, and changing that into something positive. Now, this is not, it is magic, but it's not a quick fix. It's not the kind of thing where, you snap your fingers and throw some confetti and all of a sudden, like, all your problems disappear. This is about helping you to understand that when these problems come, how to deal with them and how to clear them out permanently, because they're there to teach you a lesson. And basically the only way to get to a positive space is to take your mess, whatever's going on in your life, whatever people are causing your drama, whatever energies are coming in, kind of just taking it by the horns and saying, okay, I'm going to deal with you and I'm going to work with you until you become something better. This is not about avoiding, negative situations. This is not about, placing blame on anyone but yourself. The art of alchemy and transmutation is actually the exact opposite. It's about you taking complete control and ownership from your life and the things that are going on in your life and the people that you allow in your life, and taking practical steps to remove or clear the things that are not best for you so you can only keep what's good. The reason that I know that alchemy is a real thing and that magic actually works is due to 3 basic principles. The first principle is that everything is energy. Like, this is a fact. We know this, it's been proven by modern science that everything, even like the smallest little atom to, the biggest constellation, galaxy, star, are all just little balls of energy kind of clumped together, vibrating together, and working together to form matter or life on this physical plane. Obviously, like, there's so many different spaces and dimensions beyond the world that we know, but I'm going to focus mostly just on, this earth and this, physical existence that we know, just to make it more practical, because these are supposed to be practical tools. So everything is energy, and we know this, but I don't think that sometimes people take the time to think about really what that really means. I mean, I think what we understand that, probably, the pillow sitting next to me here, or, my hands or my body are made up of really tiny, like, vibrating, like, little particles. But, everything from the thoughts that we think is energy. The money that we spend, it's like anytime you spend money on something, like, you're giving your energy away in a material sense to whatever it is that, you exchange that money for. Music, obviously, like sound, a very powerful energy. Everything. So really just take the time to really look around you at absolutely everything. Not everything you see, everything you do, everything you think, everything you experience it, and understand it all as energy. That is really the first step to kind of working and thinking like an alchemist. The second thing to remember is that energy is reality. So because everything is energy, and reality is part of the all, or the everything, then that would mean that your reality is made up exclusively of energies, like different energies interacting with each other. Some of them belong to you, some of them technically do not. Everyone has their own, like, energy bubble. And your dog has it, you have it. The planet itself, Earth, has its big energy bubble, and Mercury has its big energy bubble, and the galaxy has its energy bubble, and all the energy bubbles of, like, all the different beings on this plane or other planes, in this life or other lives, that have eyes and ears, or that maybe have very different types of features, or very different bodies or no bodies at all. All of those different energy connections and bubbles are interacting with each other in a crazy intricate web that, can really, it's impossible to describe. But just understand that all of these energies are interacting with each other, and all of these energies in a way are working together to create what you see and experience in your everyday life. So everything is energy, and reality is energy or projection of a certain type of thought form, which is technically energy. So that's the second thing to really remember when understanding how alchemy is possible. And then the third most important point for any new alchemist to know is that humans can manipulate energy. And because humans can change and manipulate energy, by extension, they can change and manipulate reality. This has been proven in some ways. I mean, you could still argue it's controversial, but at this point, to me, it's just a duh. But I'll try to put some links to some quantum physics stuff quantum physics, what do you call them? I don't know, videos or studies that kind of prove that human attention and human focus and human intentions can go a long way to shaping the way energy flows. And the way energy flows is almost a complete exclusive part in the way that your reality kind of shows up for you. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to take full control. We're trying to understand that humans can control energy. And because we can control energy, we can control our reality. And just understanding how to do that, what are different ways that you can take control, or what are the tools that you can use to ensure that your reality is being shaped by you and not by someone else, in a way that's positive and beneficial for yourself. So that is really what we talk about when we talk about alchemy. It is kind of the ultimate power. It's the ultimate kind of magician type energy. And it is a study that I am very dedicated to. I love it. I literally have the alchemic symbol for gold tattooed on my body. I just got it a week ago, because the alchemic symbol for gold is that kind of perfected state, that just perfected state. It's the state that will work best for you. That's that thing or that experience or that, reality that will be kind of for your highest good is represented by gold and the alchemic kind of element library. So I made a choice to have that tattooed on me because I am just so dedicated into perfecting my world and perfecting everything around me so that I can be as beautiful and clear as possible. The ultimate alchemy is the ability to transform anything into a more loving state than it was before. Because at the end of the day, you have dark and light, you have positive and negative, you always have these extremes, but at the end of the day, there's nothing stronger than love, and there's nothing stronger than light. So the most powerful alchemists and magicians out there are the ones that are transforming their reality into one that only reflects an energy of the highest type, which would be unconditional love. So if you have a world where there's a lot of love around you, then pat yourself on the back because you've done an incredible amount of work. And it's not easy. The world we live in is designed to make it hard for us to be happy. It's designed to make it hard for us to really be free in any way, shape, or form. It's designed to make us miserable, and it's designed to kill us. Let's be totally honest. But, we have the power to break out of that. But first we have to understand that we have that power. We are in complete control of this game once we understand the rules. So let's jump into the concept. Now that we have an understanding about our power as human beings, our ability to control reality, which is the ability to control energy. And we know that alchemy is basically the transmutation of energies, especially from one frequency to another, or from one extreme to another extreme of that same type. Now we can kind of talk about some practical tips that I've learned in my life that I can begin to kind of talk to you guys about to help you understand like some basic ways to just become an alchemist and take full control. The first thing you have to do is get out of victim mentality. So the victim mentality is the mentality where, you know, you do nothing wrong and everything just kind of happens to you. Like, you know, you're such a great, loving person. You always do everything right and you only try to help, and then you just get taken advantage of and you have no idea why, and kind of wah. So the first thing you need to do is just to own your stuff. It's also important for you to just believe in yourself and believe in your own strength. The only way that you can get there is through self-love. Self-love, again, is something that I feel like self-love is its own kind of transmutation, alchemic practice, because, you know, in addition to the nonsense that goes on outside of you, there's a lot of nonsense that a lot of us have kind of internalized or have taken on as our own. You know, we've been taught maybe not to like ourselves or to not believe in ourselves, and we carry that around for, you know, sometimes decades. In order to take full control of your abilities and manifestation as an alchemist and your external reality, you have to begin to start taking control of your internal state and learning how to balance your internal state. So that would mean kind of at your full mastery phase that really nothing phases you. You know, you just are always at a state of peace and bliss, because in order to be in a state of peace and bliss, you must have unconditional love for yourself. And as an extension of that, you'll have it for others. And when you get there, you become in kind of this Buddha-like state where, you know, you're just kind of pretty happy, like pretty much all the time, and always in a state of peace and bliss, because there's just nothing, you're in full alignment with that divine essence and that divine love. Like, you've transmuted everything and there's nothing left to transmute. But it takes a while to get there. It takes quite a bit, a long time. And, you know, the road is not easy. Well, I wouldn't say it's not easy. I would just say that it does take effort and it does take intention. And I think that sometimes people have a tendency to just be like, they just don't understand what it means to work on themselves in a spiritual and emotional way. They just don't get it. And part of the reason I'm here is to help you try to get it, help you try to understand what that effort can look like and feel like, so at least you have an understanding. Because it's one thing if you know what it's going to take and you don't do it, but I think kind of the bigger issue is that there's some people who just don't understand that it takes anything at all. They don't understand the concept of how it looks to put effort into your alchemic practice and into your spirituality. So I'm here to just give you some practical tips on how to start that. The second really important thing you have to begin to do in order to kind of take full advantage of your alchemic abilities is to raise your standards. Now, this is something I have seen, not for myself, but I have just seen a lot of examples in the real world of, it's not really the real world, but I've seen a lot of examples from other people around me, you know, in my environment over the course of several years, who just have like abysmally low standards. And there's different ways you can have low standards. Like, the first way you can have low standards is just by not believing in yourself. Like, if someone says like, oh, you can be a millionaire, or, oh, you can be like da 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 da, and you're immediately like, oh no, there's no way. Me? Like, who am I to think da da da? Like, that is a sign that your standards are way too low, because at the end of the day, like, you are an alchemist, you are a magician, you are like God in a body. You can do pretty much anything that you want, but you have to eliminate the belief systems that are telling you that you can't, you know, very much like Neo. Like, Neo could dodge bullets But he didn't start out that way. He had to get rid of those beliefs that, the bullets could kill him before he could get to the point where he could like stop them in midair. It's like, that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to get to the point where we can stop bullets and dodge bullets. You can absolutely do that, but you have to start believing, and you have to do your training. And there's just no two ways about it. But setting your standards is one of the first major ways to just start reclaiming your power. And reclaiming your power is like a key element of being a successful alchemist. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're less than. Don't let people gaslight and try to make you believe that your point of view isn't valid, that your beliefs in your own success aren't valid. Just understand that a lot of people don't see what you see. They're not connected to what you're connected to, and they don't have the same information that you have. So if they're walking around saying that you're good enough and you can't do this and you can't do that, that's just not true. They're not connected to their divine essence when they say that. And you should only be listening to people who are connected completely to divine, unconditional love when you receive your criticism, or when anyone tries to kind of tell you really anything about yourself or anything else. And it's not coming from a place of divine, ultimate divine, unconditional love. There is some level of distortion, and where there is distortion, you need to use your discernment. You need to use your intuition and your mind and ask yourself, what do I think? What do I believe? Do I even agree with that? And if you don't have to take that on. Just ignore it. Just understand that person's not connected to their divine essence when they're talking about you, or when they're talking about whatever, and just kind of keep it moving. You don't have to pay attention to anyone, even people who are in power. Just pay more attention to yourself and your own inner guidance, and you will be totally fine. But you have to understand that you're worth it, that your opinion is valid, and you have to make sure that you don't allow anyone to act the fool in your presence. Don't let people hurt you and not say sorry. I wouldn't say don't let people kind of off the hook. I don't want to say be a hard ass, but if you are still feeling some kind of way about a way a person acted, I wouldn't just swallow that down. Not where we are right now in 2020. It needs to be handled, and it needs to be brought out in the open, and that kind of exposing of that is a type of alchemy, or an attempt at transmutation. But very important that you do that. Just keep your standards high. Ensure that everyone around you is respectful and kind to you at all times. If they're not, set those boundaries. If they don't respect the boundaries, then as far as I'm concerned, the relationship should end. And that includes jobs as well. But let's be practical here. Sometimes it takes some time to transition. And if you're in that transition phase, good for you for at least beginning to move. Because some people just won't even move. They'll just sit back and be like, everything's awful, and then just do nothing. So, if it takes time, it takes time, but at least get moving if you're in a situation that's just not working out for your divine good. And you have your spirit team behind you to support you in doing that. You just need to call on them. Now that I've gone over a few tips on just helping you kind of understand ways that you can begin to just claim your full power as a human being and as an alchemist, I want to kind of jump into another really important, just kind of pre-tip before we move on into the true kind of alchemic principles, which would be to understand how to feel different energies. Most importantly, to understand your energy, what your energy signature feels like to you, and to be able to tell and understand when energies that are different from the energies that exist within your bubble come in and out of your space. Now, this is really important for being able to just kind of get your head around the fact that there's more to this world than what we could see with our own eyes. That's kind of the first step into understanding how to feel into these different energies. And it really just takes practice. You have to start by recognizing the divine truth that, these energies do exist, angels exist, and, demons, they also exist. And they are, for a lot of you, still very much in your world, interacting with you in different ways, either maybe directly or indirectly, or depending on how successful you've been and claiming your full power, maybe not at all with those negative energies. But it varies a lot. So it's like really difficult to kind of pinpoint that. But really what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to say, like, my energy bubble feels like this. Like, I'm aware approximately of whether or not it's positive or negative. I'm aware of whether or not it's being compromised in any way, or whether or not it's being assisted in a positive way. Being able to recognize energies that are loving and kind from energies that are deceptive. You'll be able to kind of pick up all of those skills if you just kind of understand how to begin to feel into your own energy and just understand and feel into the energies that you find yourself in on a daily basis. Just becoming aware of those energy webs goes a long way to helping to understand yourself as a creator, as a magician, and as an alchemist. So a couple of tips that I know about, that I've kind of learned in my way to kind of help you get a general understanding, or at least a beginning understanding of how to go about recognizing energy, especially your own energy, is obviously to meditate. That's the way that you end up doing it. That's the best way. Like, there's really no substitute for meditation. And like, meditation is just something that people, again, like, just I don't think they take it seriously enough, and they have a tendency to give up really fast. Like, I've just had a lot of people be like, tried it for like 5 minutes and I couldn't sit still. That's normal to someone who hasn't meditated before. It does take effort. It does take time, but you have to just push yourself the same way like an athlete would push their bodies in order to be able to perform better. Like, when it comes to meditation, you have to be willing to kind of push yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to be able to stay in a quiet space. And it's that training that gives you the power that you need in order to be able to, alter your moods, alter your thoughts, like alter your reality. Like you need to flex the muscle. If it stays weak, you're never going to be able to get anything done. And like, you're never going to be able to kind of manifest what you want out of your life, because you just haven't put any effort into strengthening the parts of yourself that are responsible for that manifestation, which is your mind. And it's really all of you, but most like your thoughts is a major one, as well as your energy. And both of those things that you learn to control through the silence and the stillness of meditation, you'll be able to apply as you kind of go into your life and start working as an alchemist. Beyond meditation, a couple of questions that you can ask yourself that can help you just increase the level of mindfulness and awareness that you have for yourself is a couple of questions here. The first one is, how do I feel when I'm alone? Because as I said before, like, we all have our own little energy bubbles, and everyone's energy bubbles interacting with everyone else's energy bubble. Generally speaking, though, and this is just from my personal experience as someone who is like very psychic, the presence of other people has an effect. And just because most people that I interact with are very, they're not, their default frequency is not the same as mine. My default frequency is very high, and it's getting higher with time, and I'm getting better about making sure that I don't get dragged down by other people. But generally speaking, there's just like a big frequency mismatch between a lot of the people that I interact with in my life and myself. And the difference is very noticeable. Now, it was always noticeable, but because I wasn't always aware of it, I was just being effective in ways I didn't understand. Like, I would go to a party or something like that, and then leave the party feeling really crappy and not understanding why I feel so crappy. And I thought it was me, but it turns out it's just me, like, absorbing the negativity from the people around me and having that negatively impact me. So being able to understand the times when, my feelings and energies and frequencies are coming actually from myself, and when I'm other people's energy bubbles are basically just kind of rubbing off on me and kind of getting my energy bubble dirty. Like being able to tell the difference between when that happens was a game changer for me. And it's made me realize that like 9 times out of 10, like, you know, if I feel bad, it's usually because I've psychically picked up on somebody else feeling bad. Like it's just very unusual for me to just have, at this point where I am right now, like moments of upset or depression. And if I do have those, they're usually caused by other people's energies or other people acting crazy, because I've done a lot to clean myself up. And I'm not, again, like not perfect at all, but I have done the work, and I notice that it pays off quite a bit. So asking yourself, like, how do I feel when I'm alone? Do you feel anxious? Do you, is it a struggle for you to be alone? Are you one of those people that you always need something on, like the TV or the radio? If so, why is that? Silence is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but it can also be the kind of thing that's just very exposing. So it could be something that, you just don't want to look at. It could be a number of things, but just getting comfortable with silence and alone time can be really helpful if you have a tendency to be anxious when you're alone. Are you lonely? Again, like that, it's okay to feel lonely. I think that for many years, I've been alone, like most of my life, and most of my life I've been quite happy, but there definitely are times when I slip into loneliness as well. And for me, like, I think that stems from just, it's just like you're not kind of fully integrated on the spiritual level, and there's certain parts of yourself that aren't fully integrated, which is basically kind of another way of saying that there's just not like a full self-love there yet. It's like you're on the way, but not quite there. And I found like a lot of times just leaning into that loneliness can be one of the best ways to get over it. I just kind of lean into it. I say, like, I'm lonely, but why am I alone? Like, what is it, that I feel like I'm not getting that only other people can offer? And then kind of when you start digging for it, it's usually like a sense of validation, a sense of connection, a sense of belonging. All of those things are very natural, and at some point we do need those things as human beings, but I think people kind of underestimate the amount of love and belonging that they can give to themselves, especially when they have a strong spiritual practice. And then when you're able to connect with, your guides and, your spirits, kind of like counsel, you'll understand that, you're pretty much never alone. You're always being watched, for better or for worse. So it just kind of, like for me, like once I got very connected to my spirit guides and the archangels, I just found that the loneliness aspect really didn't exist anymore. It's something that really only existed in maybe, the lower dimensions, but, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a sign that there's something need to be healed. And I would just try to lean into that healing, instead of just trying to like band-aid it by just surrounding yourself by whoever passes by or whoever, you can latch onto, even if they're really not the best fit. Sometimes it's just best to kind of stay alone. Are you bored? I mean, boredom to me is like misdirected energy, or stagnant energy, like just an energy that's not moving forward or not being channeled in the way that serves people's highest good. So again, like there's so many different ways that you can feel. You can feel happy. Like for me, when I'm alone, I'm just like, oh, thank you. I love it. So if you're that person, then good for you. So you're on the right track, because really at the end of the day, if you are kind of like on the path to being an alchemist or mastering energy, there should never really be a moment where you feel like just really off kilter. We're trying to get to the space where we're happy, in a happy state of happiness and bliss all of the time, like even when we're alone. So really what this does is this exercise kind of helps you understand where your default frequency is, generally speaking. Like people's energy is always in flux. Usually, unless you're like a supreme master, then it's probably always positive. Or you're crazy and demonic and you're probably always negative. But generally speaking, most people have like a default frequency that they operate at. And as you get better at your alchemic practice, you'll find the default frequency just kind of going up and up and up and up and up. And you'll find more good things coming with you as well. But understanding your default frequency is important. First step in understanding like the way your energy bubble feels. And then the next step, obviously, from that is to start being very mindful of the way you feel around others. And there are certain spaces that make you incredibly uncomfortable. Are there any similarities among the spaces? Is it like, if there's more than 50 people in a room, you can't take it? Or if it's like, maybe all of them had a certain type of music that you hate. I'm just making things up. But if you can start to identify patterns, like when I'm around XYZ people or when I'm in XYZ type of space, I feel like this. And then you can start identifying like, okay, like these are the spaces where it just doesn't feel right to me. And these are the spaces that I feel really great. And this is exactly why. And then just start kind of trying to remove the things that aren't working. I think that people have a tendency to judge themselves. They just have a tendency to, like I have an example. I went to like a company party on Saturday and it was very like so-so. I didn't really enjoy being there. There was wine and there was food. So I ate the wine and drank the food, but I didn't feel comfortable. Like, I was there by myself. I didn't have a date. I made small talk with some coworkers and then I went home after about an hour because I just like didn't really want to be there. And if I was a younger Erin, I probably would have just been like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like, why aren't I social? Like, why can't I just like, figure it out and be there with everyone else? But now like older, more wiser Erin who does have an understanding of those alchemic principles and those philosophies and kind of the way energy functions, was just very aware that there wasn't really anything wrong with me. There was just like, again, I was absorbing all of these awkward energies from people around me and it was starting to affect me and I just didn't really want to be around it because when I'm alone, I don't have that. My energy is clear and happy. So I had to come home and I had to do a lot of clearing. I had to clear people's energies off of myself. I had to draw my energy back to myself. I had to kind of refortify light around me. And then as soon as I did that, it was like, instantly felt better. So it's really just about understanding like, where are you happy? Where are you unhappy? What gives you bliss? What doesn't? Examining that critically, and then taking practical steps to increase the amount of things that happen in your life that cause you to feel bliss, while systematically, slowly but surely, clearing out the things that don't resonate with that bliss. So like for me, for example, I obviously will not be going to any more holiday parties because I just don't really care for it. And I find it to just be a waste of my energy, and my energy is very expensive. And, if I'm ever in a space where I have to question whether or not I'm going to have a good time at the party, at this point, I probably just won't go. But that is me. You can there are so many different other ways to handle it. So those are just some basic examples. Quiet. Go lay down, beams. 1 second. Okay. And the last thing that I'm going to touch on for this particular episode, in order for you to get a better idea of your default frequency, because that's important for you to understand where you are so that you can understand where to move, is to really get clear about the general content of your thoughts, especially being very honest with yourself about whether or not the majority of thoughts that you think in a day are positive or negative. It matters a lot. I think that the power of thought is kind of undervalued. on purpose in our society. People have a tendency to think that, you know, you can act a certain way or say a certain thing, you know, but the way you think is kind of a private, like your thoughts belong only to you. So you can kind of think whatever you want. And that's so not true. Your thoughts are very public and your thoughts are very much shaping your reality. So you do have to watch what you think. You do have to watch what you think. You have to control your thoughts if you want to ascend and if you want to become a master alchemist. You cannot get caught up in cycles of negativity, of judgmental thinking, of, you know, anything like that. It will hold you back, and it will hold the planet back as well, actually, because people's thoughts are energy, and energy is reality. So your thoughts are definitely, again, shaping your reality in ways that you don't even understand. And if you are acting in ways that are thinking in ways that are negative, you are feeding, you know, darker entities and helping contribute to the dark state of this world, whether you think so or not. And again, that is not to make anyone feel bad or anything like that. It's just a fact. So if we want the world to be a better place, we have to clean up our thoughts as well. And cleaning up your thoughts is going to be like that key that's going to unlock your alchemic abilities. So because in order to be a master alchemist, you have to be able to direct your focus and direct your attention on something very specific. And, you know, you have to be able to sit still long enough to do that, which is the importance of meditation. And you have to be able to focus on what you want for an extended period. Like it has to be the majority, you know, of your thoughts need to be focused towards the lifestyle that you want. And if you get distracted by being like, oh, I hate her, or like, ugh, like so rude, or like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out about blah, blah, blah. Like your energy is just going to be thrown in these directions and you're not going to be focused like forward at what you want. So understanding the general nature of your thoughts is very important. Understanding if your thoughts, the thoughts that you think in a day are working for you, and manifesting your highest good is a very important thing to take assessment of as you start to move into the practice of alchemy. Because if any thought you think that's not focused towards your end goal is a waste. And, you know, waste does happen. None of us are perfect. You know, I try really hard to keep my thoughts positive, but anyone will tell you that it's almost impossible for me to do permanently, like 24/7, but no one's asking for that. They're just asking for you to begin to work to get better so that you can reach a higher state. So I used to be like super negative. My thoughts were negative all the time. I thought negative things about people all the time. And now I'm in a place where the majority of my thoughts are pretty positive. I mean, I have had kind of a rough couple weeks at my 9 to 5. So I feel like my thoughts kind of more often recently it's been a little bit more of a struggle to maintain that positive energy, but I think that I've done a really great job because of my training. And I think that it's much easier for me to bounce back. So something bad happens, instead of being upset about it for a week or, you know, whatever, I'm upset about it for a few hours and then I just kind of bounce back. And it just helps with your resiliency. It helps with your happiness. It helps with everything, to just make sure that your thoughts are majority positive. And again, make sure that your thoughts are flowing for what you want. So if you say you want $1 million, but you never spend any time like imagining what that $1 million would look like, or you don't spend any time like understanding how you can take steps to become a millionaire, you're not going to get there. Period, full stop. So, you know, you need to kind of be in a better control of your thoughts, in order to begin to take full control of that, of the alchemy that is available to you and accessible to you always. So that is kind of the gist. I mean, hopefully that made some sort of sense. I tried to do kind of like broad brush on basic principles I think everyone needs to understand before like they get too deep into the alchemic concept, but I'll definitely make sure to talk about some aspects of this in more depth in later videos, you know, as I get guidance from the divine. But thank you so much. Again, my name is Ariengabriella. Do subscribe if you want to hear more from me, more from my videos, and go to ariengabriella.com to join my mailing list. I'll be launching my business very soon. Thank you so much.